You may have noticed there being quite a bit of talk about an individual called Sarah Nyberg regarding pedophilia, bestiality, white supremacy, and profiting from piracy. I am going to talk about this person as well, but I'm not going to mention any of those things. There are a few interesting little debates going on about the grey areas involved. Does the importance of exposing this person's hypocrisy outweigh the potential damage, and so on? But like I said, this video isn't about that. I just want to take advantage of there being a spotlight on this person to point out something that I don't think gets enough attention. Well, that's not quite right. Their posts get plenty of attention, but it's mainly just annoyance. I don't see people considering it from this perspective too much, and I think they need to. First, though, I'm going to point out something that I agree with Sarah Nyberg on. The same dynamics that gave rise to the need for ethical standards in journalism have to apply, in some sense, to us now as well. Now that social media is so widely used, anyone can write what they'd write on a news site and have it spread just as far, potentially. Now, I am of course not saying that every user should be looked at the same way you would a news outlet, nor am I saying that every tweet should be looked at as if it were the news, and held to those kind of standards. That would be insane. And I've seen that suggested regarding Gamergate, saying anyone complaining about the press needs to constantly have higher standards than them in everything they write. That's nuts. I'm not talking about that at all. What I'm talking about is when you use the platform of Twitter to report facts. On Twitter, anyone can play journalist, especially if you have several followers, because from there, their reach can spread exponentially. The effect of your reporting, your citizen journalism, I guess, can have exactly the same effect as if it were posted in a news outlet, which can be good or it can be bad. And this does not apply to the absolute vast majority of tweets. So what tweets does it apply to? What kind of message am I talking about? The most basic test I've come up with is, does the tweet read like a headline? And is it intended to inform? Go look at how news outlets tweet. They have it nailed, because that's what they do. Just a statement of fact. This happened, or this is true. But the second point is key, because you can of course make a statement like that and be joking, not sincerely trying to tell people that that's the case. There is a trick to be considered where someone maliciously lies and then tries to cover it up by saying it was a joke, but that's an even wilder tangent than the one I'm already on. Now here's an example of it being done maliciously and demonstrating that yes, this can have an effect. This is serious. When you post something on Twitter, you're posting it out to the public to be spread. So if you present something as a reporting of fact and not as a joke or satire, and it's false, misleading, or warped to serve your aims, you are, in my eyes, responsible for what that causes. Here's something that was reported on in The Guardian in 2012. I just did a quick search to find an example of what I'm talking about. Someone on Twitter with just a couple thousand followers lied about something, presented it as a fact, wanted it to spread. I mean, they published it publicly on a platform designed for quick spreading, and it was taken as fact. Like I said, that's an example from 2012, and we still haven't really caught up with dealing with social networks and the reporting of fact on them. Anyone can use Twitter as a platform to publish and spread reporting from, and it's all down to how the individual tweet is. It's about what you've posted, not about who you are necessarily. Any individual's individual tweet that reports a fact could be true, false, deliberately false, or sort of twisted. And no matter which, if people believe it and spread it, the effect is the same. Yes, people should learn not to trust tweets that say, this happened, or this is true, or this means this, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. That's not the world we live in. They shouldn't just trust news outlets, but that's not going to happen either. So, to conclude this huge introduction that is likely going to be over half the video, when you publish things onto the internet on a platform designed to make things spread, if you have written a report of fact, you should be holding yourself to some kind of standard when you are doing that. So hopefully you at least understand my perspective even if you disagree. And that's why, like I said, I think Sarah Nyberg seems to be right with this tweet. The same dynamics that gave rise to the need for ethical standards in journalism have to apply, in some sense, to us now as well. They are right. You can publish something onto Twitter as a claim of fact that affects other people, designed to spread and convince people of something being true. And when you're doing that particular act, you need to realize the influence you could have or the damage you can do. It's the same sort of situation with news. You're spreading something that could cause harm, so goddamn, make absolutely sure you're not just posting some bullshit. I'm just glad to know that this person is so responsible, because of course now they have over 8,000 people following them, and they are known for sharing information. That's sort of what they do. Their followers take what they say as fact and spread it. so I'm sure that Sarah Nyberg takes lots of care to make sure they are posting absolutely true things. And I am sure they are extremely careful to consider the potential damage their reporting of fact could do, considering the number of people who follow them, trust them, and spread what they report. They're practically a social justice citizen journalist who just covers Gamergate. Total Biscuit joined people in streams that have harassed and outed trans people for months under the guise of quote-unquote ethics. Gamergate is rallying behind a confessed rapist and encouraging a doxing site to go after those who review his books. Gamergate is openly using obituaries and doxing sites to dox Zoe's entire family. Gamergate is doxing Twitter support and safety staff on Nazi boards. Gamergate is now stalking everyone that signed the petition against the proposed ICANN changes. And that's quite a lot of retweets as well. A whole load will have seen that one. Gamergate is, Sarah Nyberg reports as fact, doing all of these things. You know, that singular entity, the hate mob Gamergate. Thank goodness, everyone knows now. They trust Sarah, they spread it, make sure everyone's informed. They say this is the case, and look, they've even got sources, they've got pictures, just like the proper news. This is just like mini reporting, it's so convenient. Sarah Nyberg is so well recognized as a source of information or news that news outlets are comfortable just using their tweets as a source. A couple weeks ago, there was an Ashley Madison story on Washington Post. Bam. There we go. A Sarah Nyberg tweet embedded. Gamergate is distributing illegally obtained Ashley Madison hacked data / docs dump and encouraging going after SJWs. None of these people that she screen caps and spreads give two shits that she's done it. The people actually doing what she doesn't like are not going to be affected by this in any way, unless Nyberg goes for an identifiable person and pins them in with all those other Gamergate accusations, in which case if it affects them, I hope they sue. Not to mention it being nonsense. Gamergate does this, is this, thinks this. Just absolute brain death, but still reported nicely with a nice little picture, a source. Good enough for the news even, as we saw with the Washington Post. And they didn't just go find the actual tweets she pointed out, they gave a nod to her good work, ready to spread and make her look like a big deal, investigating and exposing the evil hate mob. The only thing this does is make people angry and hurt people who don't deserve it. This trash spread everywhere to their followers who trust them to inform them about this, and they get it constantly. Here is your information. Gamergate just did this, live update. Gamergate is this, live update. Nice little bite-sized pseudo news with authoritative presentation. And the only result is that perfectly innocent, nice people who, for whatever reason, I don't agree with this thought, they want to call themselves Gamergate or a member of Gamergate. Because the press and Sarah playing reporter on Twitter don't give a shit about hurting them. They need it to be this big hate mob. This is representative. Because of that, these people get that nailed onto them when they don't deserve it. The people they're using as examples of these things that Gamergate does do not care. And the only change her little social media pseudo-journalism project enacts is to make innocent people's lives worse. So yeah, maybe you've seen Leo Pirate's video, it's pretty rough, but if Sarah Nyberg's supporters want to talk about abuse campaigns, I can point them to someone who's been running one for about a year. But, as usual, that's just another one of my harmful opinions.